Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stat Sports Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me as co-host Jason Ford, and we are joined by what I would consider a cycling sensation, Caitlin Conyers. Caitlin has, in so many words, Caitlin hasn't been riding for a very long time, but she's taken the cycling scene by storm, not just locally but internationally. Caitlin, kind of cliche, but what has this ride been like for you?
Unreal. Honestly, the only way I can really describe it is it's been a snowball. You know, I never planned for any of this really to happen. And I've really taken it just, okay, well, I'm here now. Okay, next goal, next goal. And it's been a lot more about setting myself really like short-term goals as opposed to dreaming about something. And it seems like now, you know, I potentially have a dream come true if I were to win this contract. So yeah, it's kind of changed my perspective quite a bit.
Now, when this pandemic started, because obviously this is a Swift promotion or contract that when the pandemic started, then people started talking about, okay, we could do Swift. Had you heard of Swift before?
Yeah, I had. And most people, you know, don't like it at all. It's, you know, that you find two types of people. Some people absolutely love it, and some people don't like it at all. And I have always really enjoyed it. And so I had done Zwift Academy in 2018, and 2019, 2020, and then this year. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Jay, you have any questions, Ernie?
Well, first of all, what opportunity that's in front of you. But before I want to talk more about your contract or the opportunity, let's talk about just some of your background, because for somebody who hasn't followed you, and I love the story now, but haven't followed you, and Errol saying you just getting into it. So, were you an athlete? Did you with some other sports that you love to do prior, or I'm just going for a Sunday ride all of a sudden? Hey, I like my bike.
Yeah, it was a lot more like the latter, to be honest.
Wow.
Most people, and I look back, you know, my Instagram, I did the Bermuda May 24th race in I think it was 2017. And my goal was just to make it in the time limit, which was like 35 minutes or something crazy. And I made it, but I wasn't with the group or anything. And so it's, you know, the whole trajectory has been, like I said, unreal, because I was an athlete when I was a kid. Although I've had multiple people come up to me and say, "You were never an athlete." Like who is this person?
In your mind, you were an athlete.
Yeah, in my mind, I thought I was a pretty good athlete, but I wasn't, you know, top of the top. Right. And then if anybody that was at university with me or at law school, anything.
So what drew you to cycling then?
So when I was a kid, when I was like, you know, age 8 till 12, 13, my dad did triathlon. So I was a triathlete then. And I swam when I was at boarding school in Canada until probably age 17. But yeah, from the age of 18 to 28, I guess.
This is different.
Yeah.
What particular race would you say change your perception of what could possibly be for you in the sport?
That's a funny question. I would say it wasn't really until Pan American Games. Mm-hmm. Like prior to that, I did Caribbean Championships, and that's what qualified me for Pan Am Games. But it wasn't until Pan Am Games that I was racing against really, you know, top women, and I did well, and I was like, wow, okay, maybe I could do this. Maybe I am pretty good. There was probably a part of me, I think, deep down, even in the very beginning, that felt like I really could be good. I don't know where that came from because I hadn't done anything, but I was like, you know, when you just have a feeling, yeah. But I think it wasn't until the Pan Am Games that I really felt like I could do this.
I know I was pleasantly surprised at the performance you put on, because knowing you always kind of want to be in the background quietly doing your thing, and you were in the mix quietly doing your thing, and then obviously you come off and you turn around and you say, I can.
Yeah.
I really can. So let's jump forward to this opportunity coming up. Do you still have that kind of bit, that drive, that I can? It's everybody's got the one shot. So I put my best foot forward.
Yeah, I definitely do. And like I said, I think it's changed it a bit for me, because prior to this, I really haven't had a lot of expectations on me. I haven't had pressure on me. It's sort of like, oh, well, there's just this girl who's pretty good, and I just can get to go ride my bike, and I love it. And, that's it. And now it's like, this is really real, and I could potentially be a professional cyclist, which is crazy. So I'm kind of going back and forth between just, me with no pressure, and me like, okay, this is real, and I really need to completely take it seriously. But I think for me too, because I'm a bit older than, a lot of, especially of the other competitors, I kind of have a bigger perspective on life, I guess. I've already lived a life before the cycling thing. So it isn't necessarily the end of the world if I didn't get it, but it doesn't mean that I really, I don't really want it. But I think I can put it into perspective in a way that my younger self wouldn't have necessarily been able to.
Yeah. Back in 2020, just as the pandemic was kicking in, you had ambitions. You were over in California?
Arizona, Tucson.
Arizona. When all that kind of crashed down with the pandemic and all, did you think, okay, this dream, this part is over, or were you like, you know what, the first opportunity, when that door opens, I'm running through it?
It was like this. It was just kind of up and down. I had moments where I was like, I'm still motivated, I still want to do this. And then I had moments where I was just done. I think there's an interview with you from President's Cup.
Yes.
Last year, I think.
Yeah, yes.
And I told you, I was like, I'm done.
Yes.
It was Zwift Academy the last year that actually, again, got me going and got me motivated again. So it's kind of cool for it to come full circle.
Exactly, yeah. Jay?
And I have COVID to thank for doing this.
Everybody else is cursing COVID. You're thinking COVID.
I was cursing it, and now I'm like, okay, now something good came out of it.
COVID's my friend.
It's amazing how we've been looking for silver linings in this pandemic, and you found it.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
But on the serious note of it, I should say when you're awarded this professional contract, have you been speaking to, because that's obviously now as a business side of it, have you been speaking with anybody, getting advice on the professional side, things that, whether it's sponsorship, whether it's a team, or you're just still just bringing it as we go in?
I mean, luckily I'm a lawyer, so I have a little bit of my own background training, but no, not at all. I would definitely be getting thrown into the deep end if this did come about. So it's a good question. I just want to start doing a little more. But I know the very broad details of what it would entail, but in terms of sponsorships and the detailed stuff, I would be learning that on the go.
But I just know, I know other professional, or other, I won't say young people, but other people that jump into a professional league or so, sometimes that overwhelms them because they're not really, number one, accustomed to it, or even thinking about it, because it's always worrying about somebody else would always take care of it, whether it be the coaches or something of that nature. But with cycling, you might have a coach or two, but it's not like you have a big entourage of people that's going to do what you're handling. So that's some extra, I don't want to say pressure, because I don't want to ever add pressure, but it's something that has to be done on a day-to-day basis.
Definitely. I mean, I'm pretty good with that stuff. Again, it's probably an advantage of being a little older than some. But I probably, hopefully, will be able to figure it out.
Yeah. I know. How does training here even the Zwift and outdoors, how does the training here set you up for competition? And even the competition, because obviously you have seen what courses they're going to try to use for this. So how does that set you up for it?
Yeah, Bermuda, the only thing we're missing in Bermuda really is a climb, like a proper sort of 30-minute mountain climb. And that is, Mallorca will have, sort of those types of mountains, not super long. So that's good for me. But yeah, Bermuda makes you do a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily in other places. Like being aware of the road, I think is a huge thing, because obviously we are dealing with narrower roads, a lot more traffic, motorbikes, all of it. And the terrain is just very up and down. So you have to keep the pressure on the pedals, even going over the hill. So a lot of the time in other places, once you get to the top of the climb, you coast. In Bermuda, it doesn't work that way. You keep going.
Is that an advantage or disadvantage?
It's an advantage once you have figured out how to do it. Most of us are not very good at doing it. And I am still, working at it. But it is a serious skill to be able to pedal hard downhill, and to, we also have you have a lot of quite technical riding, which is actually quite good. And the weather also, you have the humidity and the heat, which can be an advantage sometimes when you go to cooler environments. But yeah, I think it sets you up relatively well for such a small place.
Okay. So my final question before Jay has his final question. What can people expect from Caitlin for this, I wouldn't say once in a lifetime, but this opportunity that's presented to you?
Well, there are going to be 5 reality TV kind of episodes, so everybody's going to watch and see it all. But yeah, I'm going to, represent Bermuda and hopefully, be able to put our name out there as well to the cycling world, and yeah, hopefully be really strong on the bike, assuming that all my training is going to pay off by then. So.
Okay, Jay?
Well, I was going to ask you about your training and stuff like that, but I don't think you want to give away too many secrets right now. So but I'm not even going to ask you a question. I'll just say, take it on, make us proud, and I can't wait to see this reality story because I'm pretty sure there'll be some interesting things that we Bermudians will be able to identify.
I'm sure they will.
I can't wait. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Well, Caitlin, from us here at Island Stats, we want to wish you all the best. But the one thing I want you to remember is have fun. As long as you're having fun, things will work out for you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right. Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by 2 Pan American Game junior athletes that will represent Bermuda in Colombia at the end of the month. We'll be right back.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's leading distributor of fine beverages, have brought us something fresh and exciting this month. Mystic Juices, skillfully blended for captivating flavor and loaded with nutritional value. Mystic Juices not only taste remarkably good, one serving will supply an abundance of vitamins A and C, more than a certified measure needed to meet your daily requirements. This month we're featuring delicious and nutritious Mystic Juices in an enticing range of flavors in 64 and 16-ounce bottles. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter.
And welcome back, Jay. We're now going to be joined by Jaden Roberts, who will represent Bermuda in archery, as well as Maisha Sharif, who will represent Bermuda in swimming in Colombia at the inaugural Pan American Junior Championships. First of all, welcome, both of you.
Evening.
Evening. Maisha, if you can you pull your camera down just a little bit? There we go. Now we can see your face. All right. So let's start off with you, actually, Maisha. You're going to be taking part in this the first time they're having an event such as this for junior athletes. Are you excited?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. What have they determined what disciplines you'll be swimming in?
Yes, I'll be swimming the 100 butterfly, 100 backstroke, and 50 freestyle.
Okay. All right. And Jaden, welcome. You gotta unmute.
There he is.
Welcome, Jaden. Can you hear us? Okay, he's dropped out. Okay, so Maisha, obviously this is a big event. What have you been doing to prepare yourself for this new challenge?
Just training as hard as I can, trying to keep the mental side of it up. And swimming 7 times a week, as well as personal training.
Oh, nice. Now, I got the opportunity to see you compete last week, Saturday. You look like you was ready.
Not yet.
So it looks so deceiving.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Jaden's back. Hi, Jaden. How are you? Your audio is turned down. Turn up your audio on your computer. No, we can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear him?
I can hear him now.
Okay, stop it.
But I can hear you. Okay, he dropped out again. Good, Jay.
So, Maisha, who are some of the people that's been helping you in your journey? Who's some of the coaches and who's some of the people that's helping you get prepared?
My coaches for swimming are Shona Palmer, Jenny Smith, and then for personal training, it's Lonnie at Leia.
Now, the fact that you have someone like Jenny who was really outstanding in her day, what's some of the tricks and trades she's been giving you to kind of improve your times or just your form?
Just fast turns, starts, finishes, getting off the blocks fast.
Okay. Now you do a lot of training in the 25-meter pool. Obviously, these events are going to be 50-meter. How does that transition work?
It's not much difference, truthfully. It's just a turn taken out in the middle of the pool. It's not much difference.
No. Okay, let's see if we can bring Jaden back in. Jaden, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, welcome, Jaden. The fact that you'll be taking part in archery for the first time in this junior event, representing Bermuda, how does that make you feel?
It's definitely an experience that I'm willing to have fun with, and it's nice to go away and shoot Colombia of all places where I never thought I'd really be going.
Now, the opportunity that you've had in the past of going to places like Philadelphia and Florida to shoot, how do you think this plays into your preparation for this event?
Both shooting in Philly and Florida have prepared me a lot for something as big as this, because there's tournaments that I've been to, which is kind of minuscule compared to this. But due to those tournaments, I gained somewhat of a understanding of how to work. So in doing so, I know a decent amount of experience to prepare myself.
Jay?
Jade, and it's refreshing to know that 10 years ago, who would have imagined somebody to go to the games to represent archery from Bermuda? So to see a young person, I'm still baffled by it. But what was one of the things that got you excited to get involved in archery?
Turn the camera so they can see your dad.
Oh, that's the culprit. Okay.
All right, Jade, you can answer it now.
Yeah, archery has always been something that I've wanted to try back in the day. It always looked like fun. So, with my daddy and him knowing that, because he used to do rifle shooting, and so due to his experience with rifle shooting, he decided, well, since I can't really do anything with rifles and I'm so young, he decided that he'll try and bring archery back into the light again. So that's where the understanding and the joy of archery came in for me.
And for you, Maisha, obviously both of you are in school. How does this play into time off to represent Bermuda in this major international junior event?
I don't know how to answer that one.
You still have schoolwork to do while you're gonna be away?
I may join a few classes before the actual meet happens, but otherwise than that, I'll play catch up.
Okay. What about you, Jaden?
Yeah, while I'm away, I'd still try and join classes and try and get as much work done as possible. But when I get back, I'm probably gonna have to play catch up.
Now, obviously, when you compete locally and when you compete internationally, it's two different things. How do you plan to keep those nerves down when you're going into what is considered the unknown? And I'll start with you, Maisha.
Listening to music helps to get you relaxed and get things off your mind, or visualization before your event.
Okay. Jaden?
Well, archery is basically like 90% mental, like 10% sport. So keeping a level head is just natural to me. So that's how I'm willing to tackle the nerves and get myself out there and perform well.
Jay?
In each of you guys' disciplines, each of you guys' sports, any international athletes that you guys look up to in your sport?
You can go first, Jaden.
Well, in archery, in archery, look up to someone called Brady Allison. He's a pretty good shooter from the U.S. and has somewhat have been like an inspiration to me due to him being so successful.
Maisha?
Probably Michael Phelps.
Okay. All right. Phelpsy.
Wonder why, Earl.
As a winner. A proven winner.
Not me.
A proven winner, man. So Jaden, give us a sense of some of the people that you have trained with or had the opportunity to compete against at such a young age.
Well, when I was away in Philadelphia a while ago, I got the opportunity to train with someone called Casey Caulfield, and she's one of the youth shooters who shoots with adults, but she's still technically a youth shooter. And she's one of the best in the U.S. right now for women's. And she went to the Olympics recently as well.
Yeah, and she's near your age, right?
Yeah, just a little older than me, though.
Okay, all right. I guess Maisha, the same question for you.
Can you repeat the question again?
Who are some of the people you've been training with or competing against that's kind of helped you along the way?
I don't really train with anybody I just train her and do overseas meets when I can.
Okay, all right, all right. And what, if any, other sports do you guys do? Aisha?
I used to run. I kind of do it sometimes just to keep up the endurance, but that's about it.
Okay. Jaden? He went dark there for a second. Jay, you have any question for Maisha?
So, Maisha, is this something that you're looking to pursue to go to when you get, even to the Olympics? Is that a dream now? We're seeing people like Flora Duffy be successful on that level. Is that something that you're trying to aspire to, or just trying to get a college, get into college?
The Olympics is not my dream. My dream is to swim for university. Just get as much opportunities and experiences as I can.
Good.
We see people like Madeline Moore doing great where she is. Obviously, it's got to be a big inspiration to all the youngsters who are coming through, because it's possible that somebody from Bermuda could really clean up wherever you go.
Yeah. Well, Maisha, I want to say thank you very much and all the best.
Yes.
You're getting an opportunity to be one of the first Bermudians to compete at the Pan American Junior Championships. Have a lot of fun, soak it all up, meet new friends, build those relationships. I see Jaden's trying to come back here just so I can say the same thing to him. But write everything down just so you have those memories that will remain with you for a long time, and then you can share them. Let's see, right? Jaden, you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Had some
Okay.
dropped off.
As I was saying to Maisha, I want to wish you all the best. Have fun. You will be one of the first to represent Bermuda at the Pan American Junior Championships. It's a big deal for not just us, but for the region. Take notes, meet friends, build relationships. You never know where you'll end up down the road and where it could take you. Just knowing someone, okay? So to both of you, good luck. Have fun, okay?
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Conor Smith, former Bermuda international. We'll be right back.
The use of butter goes back millennia, and its exalted status in the cooking world and in so many kitchens is undeniable. Around 3,000 years ago, ghee, or clarified butter, was developed in India and is the cooking oil of choice in many regions of the subcontinent, and compared to butter has a higher smoke point, reduced dairy solids, and a more robust, nuanced flavor. And to Organic Valley, creators of a certified organic version of this versatile traditional staple. This month we're featuring Organic Valley Ghee Clarified Butter. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
And welcome back. And as I indicated, we'll be joined by Conor Smith, former Bermuda international footballer. Conor, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's try to catch up because it's been a while. You're into the coaching realm now after the playing career, but it's been a journey for you through the coaching realm. Let's kind of go back to coaching starting. Where did you start, and how did you progress to where you are today?
Yeah, I kind of started when I was done playing with the Revolution. I kind of started with their player development program, so really grassroots level. Got in at that level and just kind of started to learn from there. And then I progressed to their youth academy with the development academy that was part of U.S. Soccer at the time. It's now run by MLS. So I got into that. And then from there, I went on to coach at Southern New Hampshire University for about 6 months. Good friend of mine took over as a head coach, and I thought it was a good opportunity for me to start my master's at that point, and I did it and I completed it online. So while I was there, I got the opportunity to go to Orlando and work with the Orlando Pride of the NWSL. It was a really good opportunity for me to go live in a good city with warm weather that was closer to home, get away from the Northeast. And then, work for a club that was, progressing really well at the time. And obviously the Pride was attached to Orlando City. So I got to be in the office with a bunch of really good coaches. MLS coaches were right next door. USL coaches were right next door. And it was a really good environment to work in. And then after about 3 years there, I got offered a position, which I'm currently still in, with Birmingham Legion in the USL Championship. And that's where I am now. So that's kind of been my coaching journey so far.
Well, let me ask, because obviously in the professional setup, how different is it coaching the females and then the males?
Honestly, it's not much different, to be honest. They're all soccer players, they're all footballers, and they want to learn and they want to get better. They're all driven, and it's not much different, to be honest. They want to be treated the same, and rightfully so. They just want to be treated as people, been treated like good humans, and so it's to be honest, it's not that much different to me.
And one of my last questions for this segment is, what did you learn most about yourself when you first started out as a coach, coming from that football background?
Honestly, I think at going in at the level that I went in at, and it kind of taught me a bunch of humility, and and it's, at that point as a coach, you kind of learn that it's not really about you, it's about the athletes that you're coaching and trying to make them better. And I was coaching 6 to 8 year olds and 12-year-olds that had no idea that I played for the New England Revolution. So it's really humbling to know that, and quickly brings you back down to earth. So I'm just kind of starting from ground zero, and obviously I try to stay humble and have a lot of humility. But if I didn't have any, that would have certainly brought me back to ground really quick.
Jay?
Well, a couple of questions for you, Conor. Bob, I'm gonna start off. You mentioned about the coaching side of it, and especially with the women's side, and over the last couple of years, especially during this, just even prior to the pandemic, stuff off the field has brought a lot of attention to the women's game, especially when it comes to equal pay and things of that nature. How has that been, trying to manage off the field issues while you're trying to be coaching stuff on the field with these ladies?
I mean, honestly, obviously a lot of the issues that have come to the forefront now in 2021, 2020, a lot of those issues obviously were happening, but it didn't really affect what we were doing day to day. I think our staff and my boss at the time, Tom Samani, again, a really good human, and treated everyone equal, and try to do the best by them, and treat everyone the same. So I think that's something that I try to carry throughout my life, and those issues I think never really came to forefront. Obviously, the NWSL is still growing as a league, and I want everybody to get paid as much as they can. So if, more power to everyone if they're looking to get more money. So it's I think those issues just never really affected me in my day-to-day work. As I said, I just try to treat them as athletes and as humans the same as I would anyone else.
And also now, because of you, I was following the England Revolution, became a fan. Since you've been going, what has happened? Really, tell me. Please tell me what has happened to the England Revolution. Because it's hard to watch.
Yeah, I mean, well, to be fair, this year they're obviously having a really good season. They're first in the league right now. They're going to win what's called the Supporter Shield, and they won it by pretty clear margin. I think 15 to 20 points. So they've kind of had a changing of management since I've left. And obviously the Bruce Arena has come in, who's been a very successful, probably the most successful American coach internationally and domestically. And he's come in and he's totally changed the organization, and he's done different, and they've kind of given him the keys to the organization, and you can see why he's been so successful. So, obviously they're the clear on favorites for MLS Cup, and hopefully they win it all. But obviously playoffs don't work like that. The best team doesn't always win, but I'm kind of pulling for them because obviously I still have a lot of connections and friends inside the organization.
When you compare what you're doing now and you look back at times in Bermuda, what would you think Bermuda needs to actually make another step forward? I'm not saying to be at the level where you're at, but take another step forward.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously I haven't been that attached. I kind of keep what's going on in my mind of what's going on domestically in the game at home. And, I think, the biggest difference is the level of professionalism, and that's from top to bottom. So, I think for us to grow as a country, obviously we're not going to be near as, even USL or MLS or the Premier League. Like we're not competing with those at the moment, but I think just gradually improving the standards of professionalism, professional facilities, just giving people something to look forward to, So, obviously the surfaces in Bermuda are not great, so the level of play is not going to be great. The level of training, training 2 days a week, remember competing against nations that are full-time professionals, we're always going to be up against it. But having said that, I think we do punch above our weight, and I think Kyle, especially with the men's senior national team and the players that we have, it's those guys that certainly took the national team to the next level, and hopefully it continues. And I think when I was playing, and I talk about Kenny Thompson a lot because he's someone that was a big influence on me, and he always talked about leaving the program in a better place that you found it, and hopefully we tried to do that. And he just talked about leaving it in a better place you found it, because at some point, us players at that time are going to have sons and nephews and cousins and people that are going to follow behind us. So that was kind of our role. And again, that's kind of something I try to carry to my day-to-day life, is leaving whatever I'm involved in, big or small, and then just try to leave it in a better place than I found it. And I think that's success for me.
Jay?
Looking at the game now from a coaching aspect, we're seeing, obviously coaches be very fluent in the strategies and even the game itself. How is that translating with the women's game? Because obviously they're not going to be as big, not as be as strong, not as be as fast. But watching the women's game, they seem to be a lot more technical at times because they just do a lot of the basics good. Tell me what's your sentiments when it comes to some of the major strategies or the phases or fads, because you get these fads when it comes to formations in football. For years with Barcelona playing around, playing out of the back and just knocking around, you saw a lot of teams starting to adapt that. But what is it like for the women's side of it?
I mean, honestly, again, I really don't see much difference. It's, again, they want to be treated the same as their male counterparts. They want to be treated fairly. They want the same information, and they want to be able to do the same thing. So obviously they're competing against each other, and they want to be the best competing against each other. So again, for me, it's not much difference, to be honest. I know people like to ask those questions, but I really don't see a difference, to be honest, for me.
Would you say in the setup that you're in now, with everything given, coaching, players, and everything, it's helped you to grow even more in the game?
Yeah, I think obviously the game in the United States is growing leaps and bounds every year, and it starts at the top. Obviously, the national team is performing well at the moment, and hopefully they get to the World Cup this time around, because I just think it helps the game overall in the country, and I think it helps the region. If the United States is doing well, then I think overall it helps the CONCACAF region, because the resources and money available to the game in this country are almost second to none. I mean, obviously you're kind of competing with Mexico, and Mexico is probably the top dog in the region in terms of everything that's pertaining to football in the CONCACAF region. But I just think everything's starting to trickle down now, So you look at MLS. MLS is growing now, and you have big clubs like Atlanta United, Seattle, and all these clubs are spending millions of dollars on players, and they're selling players for millions of dollars. Miguel Almiron, I think Atlanta United bought him for $8 million a few years ago, and turned around and sell him to Newcastle for $30. So the game is continuing to grow, and I think the players in MLS are just keeping to get better and better and better, and they're coming from different parts of the world because they know the game is growing. And I think that's also trickling down to USL, because the better players that come in MLS are now pushing some of the players that were, bubble guys on MLS rosters to now fall into USL rosters. So it's helping the USL grow, and the USL Championship is growing, and then you have USL 1, which is the third division. So I just think the game in the United States has so much room to grow and continue to get better, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
We're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more with Conor Smith. We'll be right back.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's leading distributor of fine beverages, have brought us something fresh and exciting this month. Mystic Juices, skillfully blended for captivating flavor and loaded with nutritional value. Mystic Juices not only taste remarkably good, one serving will supply an abundance of vitamins A and C, more than a certified measure needed to meet your daily requirements. This month we're featuring delicious and nutritious Mystic Juices in an enticing range of flavors in 64 and 16-ounce bottles. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. I'm still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Conor, I got a two-part question. Can you tell us what was your crowning moment as an international player and as a professional player, throughout your career?
Good question. I mean, at the international level, I think some of the performances we had, I think we remember going to Trinidad and beating them 2-1 in the World Cup qualifier. I think that was a really big accomplishment for us. Obviously, it didn't work out in the second leg, but I think that was a really good performance and made a power in the region stand up and take notice of it. And then I think a similar performance in El Salvador. I think we went there and we tied them 2-2. That was another good performance, and again, another really successful team in the region. We punched above our weight against them. But my personal moment would probably be, honestly, just scoring my first goal. And it was against Montserrat in a competitive game. We ended up beating them, I think it was 13-0 in the first leg at home. But you can only beat what's in front of you. And I think I started the game horribly, to be honest. I missed a sitter, I think inside the 6, and I was like, oh no, here we go. So that was to rebound, and I think I scored 1 or 2 of those 13. So I think that was internationally probably one of my better feelings. Again, in the MLS level, I think we obviously as a group won the U.S. Open Cup. that was a big achievement for us because the club at the time hadn't won any silverware. Making it to 3 MLS Cup finals in a row and losing is still painful, and it still hurts. But at the end of the day, I think it was a really good achievement to get to those 3 finals. And I think during that time period, we were certainly one of the better teams in the league, but we just never were able to win that big game. But again, making it to that level and scoring my first goal, I'll always remember that because that was something I always dreamed of, and to finally accomplish it and check it off that box, and to be able to share that with everyone that was on the journey and supported me, I think was a good moment.
Now, those were the highlights. What are the lows? I know you already talked about getting to those 3 finals and losing, but same question, but the not so good.
Yeah, definitely losing in those three finals was probably the lowest of the low, but still a positive and something that drives me on. And then the ups and downs of being a professional athlete. Being on the bench or not getting into a game and being injured. I think my biggest injury, I had some torn knee cartilage. I had a sports hernia that I had to get surgery for. The knee cartilage kept me out for about 8 months, and it was supposed to only be 4. So that was a really down moment, and the something that I had to rebound from, and I did. I still don't think I reached my full potential for many reasons. I think that was one. But you can always look back on things and do stuff differently. But those were probably the lows of the low in terms of me personally. And then as a team, would be losing in those 3 finals. Still hurt, but it's, like I said, something that drives me on still.
Jay?
All right, Conor. So Earl said a 2-part. Let's go to a 3-part. Let's go to a 3-part. Coming up, who was an inspiration? Who did you look up to coming up while playing here locally? Also, who's the inspiration while you was playing professionally? And now who's the inspiration while you're coaching?
Yeah, good question. I mean, domestically, players that I looked up to, Kyle Lightbone was that was my guy. He was left-footed. He was obviously really good at that time and still playing here domestically for PHC. And I used to go to the games all the time. And when I saw him play, I was kind of like, it's like you saw, like he's levitating, it's like this this figure that's there and that you wanted to be like and inspired to be, So he was certainly someone that I looked up to, and then a bunch of obviously all the Dandytown players that were playing at the time: Conor Smith, Paul Can, Walter Musson, Chris and Kirk Martin, Troy Dorm, all these guys Wayne Campbell. Like I could go on for days. Hopefully I didn't leave out anyone that kind of inspired me. But going to those games every Sunday, and then other players from other teams too, like North Village had a bunch of good players. Devonshire Colts were a good club at that time, and just watching, I think football in Bermuda. Obviously, I'm living in the moment at that time was a real inspiration for me, and that's all I wanted to do, And I think athletically, kind of where I got the drive from was watching my mom. My mom, played softball growing up. She played netball growing up, and she played netball at a pretty high level, represented the country. So she was fast and she would run, and it was just really, I think that's where I got my drive and my will to win and want to be good was from a lot of the stuff that she instilled in me, watching her compete, and I learned to be competitive through that, watching her. And I mean, international footballers, you can go on for days. The guys that I loved watching, I think remembering my first memory of watching international football match was probably, I'm telling my age here, but 86. I was probably too young to remember that World Cup. But 90, obviously, I was old enough to remember that one, and just watching Maradona and watching the aura of this guy and how skillful he was and how everyone respected him, opponents, fans, how people were using. I mean, he was a rock star, So that was probably my earliest memory of professional footballer that I really looked up to and inspired me. And then, but you can go on and on for World Cups after that. 94 Roberto Baggio, and then you're going into like the Champions League eras for like the AC Milan teams, and then obviously Manchester United had so many players that I obviously enjoy watching Manchester United growing up. So you can, Beckham, Van Nistelrooy, Cantona, and Paul Ince, and so many players that have graced the stage that way. But I think probably my favorite all time, because I inspired to be like him, because I thought our playing styles were similar, was Rivaldo, because he was left-footed, and obviously everybody loves Brazilians, and he's a forward, and he was obviously an extraordinary player, and won FIFA World Player of the Year one year. So I think, listen, I'm not saying I was anywhere close to the guy, but that's someone I would have loved to emulate. It's just his playing style and everything that he did on the pitch was just like poetry in motion to me.
And coaching now.
Yeah, and coaching, I think, it's so many good coaches now, and so many good people to learn from, and so many resources that you can watch and study people and learn from different people. Every game from every league is on TV. And obviously growing up loving Manchester United, obviously Fergie was someone that was, is extraordinary at that time. Obviously he's since retired, but now you have so many excellent coaches that I just try to steal from everyone, and I think that's what coaching is all about. Coaching is just stealing the best thieves, and the ones that are successful in coaches. And obviously you got all the guys in England, and Guardiola and Klopp and Thomas Tuchel, and guys outside of England. You got obviously Conte just came in, and obviously Luis Enrique and Roberto. It's just so many coaches to learn from now, and it's so accessible to get their information and their tactics, and you can just steal a little piece of what they're doing or their training sessions. So I just trying to mold myself and use the best of everyone, because again, football's got no right or wrong answer. So if somebody says they're going to play a 4-4-2, then you can try beat it with something, and maybe it's successful, or maybe it's not. Maybe a 4-2-3-1's better, or 4-3-3, or 3-5-2. So it's just all about sticking to your systems and your beliefs and being adaptable for me, and trying to take the best from everyone. And that's kind of what my style is going to be. So I don't know what that looks like yet, but hopefully it's a collection of everyone that I've seen and admired. But
let me ask you, Conor, because obviously you're a guy coming from Bermuda. You're scoring all these goals. You signed this professional contract, and then all of a sudden you're playing left back. How did you manage to convince yourself that, okay, I could do this role and do it well for this team?
Yeah, during those most successful years with New England, I played on the left in a 3-5-2, and obviously I went there and they signed me as a forward, because I was playing for the national team as a forward. And at that time it was just going to be really hard for me to get game time, because we had Taylor Twellman, and we had Pat Noonan, and obviously really good forwards. Taylor scored over 100 goals in MLS, and Pat's probably scored over 50, but they had a really good partnership together. And to kind of get myself on the field, that's what I needed to do and where I needed to be. So was it an adjustment? Yeah, but it wasn't hard, because at the end of the day, it was what was best for the team and what the team needed. And it was what was going to get me on the field and get me the most playing time. So at the end of the day, that was kind of most important, those two things, whatever the team needed, and getting myself on the field and being able to contribute the best way I can to help the team be successful. So hopefully I was able to do that.
You kind of adapted to it really well, because obviously you had that lot of space down the left side to still get forward. Did you really embrace it and enjoy it as much as it looked like you did over your career?
Yeah, I think I did. Obviously, I would have loved to contribute more in terms of goals and assists. I think, playing with a guy like Taylor and Pat, it was much easier to. They made crosses look good. Taylor was one of the best inside the box in MLS at that time, and probably still one of the best in MLS history. So just I had to adapt my game and be able to serve balls into the box for him to get onto. So I think I definitely enjoyed it. Defensive responsibilities. I think I did those fairly well. That might not be the perception of everyone, but I think I kind of took that to heart, and I think my offensive game suffered because I was so focused on doing my defensive responsibilities first. So I'll be interested if anyone had any tape of me not defending well. I would I would love to see it. I'm sure it happened, but I think I gave myself a pretty good account of it because I think I focused more on that. And just it's obviously hard work playing in a 3-5-2, getting up and down the line by yourself. You have to be the sole defensive purpose on that side, and then you're also responsible for creating chances for your teammates. So it's a lot of work, but I enjoy it.
As you know, we probably have quite a few guys who are off island now, in academies, in college and high school and university and boarding schools and so forth. What would your message be to these guys who probably have ambitions of I'm a striker or I'm a defender, but in a system that kind of rotates, you might be needed in another area? What advice would you have to the young guy to open his mind up to be accepting of the system he's playing in, and not necessarily I just want to play striker and I'm not going to do anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think firstly, I think to be a good footballer and a good soccer player, you have to be able to play more than one position. And if you don't, and if you can't, you obviously kind of pigeonhole yourself. And if you end up in a scenario like I was, where I had two really good forwards in front of me, then if I'm going to be stubborn and not able to adapt, well, you're not going to get playing time. So I think you have to be adaptable and willing to learn and be open-minded. And most importantly, I said this on another show I was on last week, but be a good teammate. So if that's what the team requires and needs from you, then you need to do what's best for the team, because to function in a group of people, and that's any walk of life, you need to be able to work with other people. And being a good teammate is part of that. So all of a sudden, if you're not a good teammate because you're upset because you're not playing in your preferred position or what you perceive as your best position, and the coach sees something else, I think you should trust in the people that are entrusted with making those decisions, and be adaptable and look to expand your game, because it's only going to benefit the player in the long run.
Jake?
Yeah, it's amazing you're talking about adapting, because you see that so often now. Players who can adapt it, survival is very short in many professional leagues now, because of maybe the money, maybe the coaches, because coaches don't seem to last as long. So a coach will bring in a different system, as you've seen before. But I know I'll probably talk with Earl at the end of the show about this, but what I've noticed, I'm pretty sure you could talk about it, it's just being ready, because a lot of times you never know when the opportunity is going to come. And you mentioned about, Taylor Twellman and these guys. Obviously, when you say, well, man, where am I going to get in the team? But to be ready when that opportunity comes. And I tell folks a lot of times, you never know when it's going to come, but you need to be ready when it comes, because when it comes, you're going to have to take it by the hands. And I think, number one, being fit is first and foremost, because you gotta be up for it. Not only physically fit, but mentally fit. Can you speak on, like you said, being ready for that moment, because you have to not only impress your coaches, but also your teammates?
Yeah, and I think that's most important, is obviously the people that are in the building with you is being able to do whatever part it is. And I think, being adaptive, and, I see it now with our players, is that a team is a working and moving environment document, so to speak. It's always moving and evolving, and the group is going to need different things from you at different times. So maybe, you see yourself as a forward, but the coach says, hey, I need you to go play left back one day. It doesn't mean that you're going to be stuck playing left back forever, but what's best for the group that day might be for you to go play left back, and you need to go and do it to the best of your ability, because to gain the coach's trust is obviously very important, and to gain your teammates' trust is very important. And I think, again, I think as people and as athletes, obviously that's the most difficult thing to do sometimes, is to put your ego aside and do what's best for the group. But again, like I said, to be able to function and coexist with other people in a group, you really need to be willing to sacrifice yourself sometimes and be unselfish. And that's what's going to really carry you through. You can see guys that have made a career out of being unselfish and doing what's best for the team. I mean, one of my best teammates that I had was Jeff Lorenowitz. Jeff started off as a developmental player, making very low money. And he just did whatever he needed to do to be part of the group. And he went in as a center back. Coaches asked him to play center midfield. And 15, 16 years later, he's a two-time MLS Cup champion and one of the guys that have played the most minutes and had the most appearances in MLS history. And that's just because he was selfless and did whatever he needed to do to function in the group. And at the end of the day, he was rewarded because I'm a big believer in karma. So if you do the right thing, I feel like the right thing is going to eventually come to you.
Well, Conor, I want to thank you very much for taking time out to talk to us here on the Island Stat Sports Show. I want to wish you all the best for the remainder of your season and your career. Hopefully one day that involves you in the national setup here in Bermuda, if that journey does take you down that road.
Appreciate it. And obviously, I just want to, before we get off, want to give my condolences to Jacino Richardson's family. Obviously, a really sad day for his family and the Denny Town Club as a whole. And, obviously just giving them my strength and my thoughts. And obviously, he was a really nice young man and a good footballer. So a really sad day. So just wanted to give my best wishes and condolences to his family.
And the same from here for the Island Stat Sports Show. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have a wrap-up of the Island Stat Sports Show. We'll be right back.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's leading distributor of fine beverages, have brought us something fresh and exciting this month. Mystic Juices, skillfully blended for captivating flavor and loaded with nutritional value. Mystic Juices not only taste remarkably good, one serving will supply an abundance of vitamins A and C, more than the certified measure needed to meet your daily requirements. This month we're featuring delicious and nutritious Mystic Juices in an enticing range of flavors in 64 and 16-ounce bottles. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda?
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
Well, Jay, we've had a busy, fast hour. Talking with Caitlin Conyers, Jaden Roberts, and Maisha Sharif, as well as Conor Smith.
Well, first things first, knowing that history is going to be made with these two youngsters going, for the Junior Pan Ams, it's always nice to know that they can say theirs the first. So, that's always great.
Yeah.
Before we get into some of the press conferences, which I'm just because something is came out.
I'm not getting on that road. I've already been depressed this afternoon.
What I want to say that's came out this whole week is that obviously more sports are being given the green light. And that's something that we've been hoping for the last couple of weeks. So I want to say I'm happy in that sense. Still, a lot of things just don't make no sense to me, but I'm happy that some we're given the opportunity to resume. But I want to mention something because we talked a little bit of it tonight, adapting as an athlete when things may be rough. And I don't know if you've been aware of the stories that came out of the World Series that just been completed by the Atlanta Braves winning last night. But I'm just going to go back. It was two main players that have been basically heaven sent for the Braves. Guy Rosario, who actually got traded to the Braves late in the season from a team that they wasn't doing too good, and he was able to be the MVP in the series against the Dodgers that got him to the World Series. Now, because of that, he took the place of a guy who got injured and took his place So when it came to the World Series, that guy who had been starting, who had been a good player for the team, now he had to come off the bench and be a DH because the guy that took his place was hot.
Yeah.
Guess who ended up being the MVP of the World Series?
The DH.
Yeah. So just when things may seem like it's not going your way, you know, you staying ready, and I'm pretty sure, man, that has to play on everybody, both of those guys' mind, because when you're getting traded late in the season, you're not just going from one team to another team, but you're also talking about your family. Uprooting from one city to go to another city, or if they don't uproot now, then it's a long distance situation, and you might not see him until the end of the season. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
But the message, and I just listened to Conor, and it really, you know, him is you have to be ready. You have to be ready and be adaptable because you never know. And one of their main MVP players going into the league, going into the season, had a season-ending injury this year.
First game.
So I mean, there wasn't. Nobody had picked the Braves, even at the midway break, the All-Star break. So this is just something that with sports, I know for the Atlanta community, because I spent a good bit of years, the good years, you want to say. The last time I was there the last time they actually won the World Series back in '95, I believe.
Yeah, '95.
And I know what it took then, and actually was pitching that actually won them that World Series.
Yeah.
Go figure. And that's what got him this year. But to say that just being adaptable and hopefully these youngsters will learn some of these things, even though it might not be a sport, but these are still athletes that you can learn a lot from.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm just hoping that so I'm gonna ask you, how's football last weekend, and how did you get to enjoy hearing the whistle, to hear the first? Okay. Be honest, because I listen to the show, but you guys don't talk about this type of stuff. Who had the best tackle over the weekend? Who's one of those tackles you say, yeah. It's going to feel that tomorrow. Come on now.
Oh, to be honest, I thought on Saturday night, I thought everybody would feel it tomorrow morning because it just did not look like – it actually looked like a training match. Again, people were saving themselves, literally saving themselves.
You guys had mentioned that on the show, and I went back and looked at the video. I said, okay, that's what it's talking about. So, folks, when they're saying saving themselves, let me break it down for you. Weren't too much guys running down the line like that. Once a week, knock the ball.
I'm making a run now. Catch me in 10 minutes. I'll make another.
I need a break, okay? So play the ball back at my feet, and you can survive. A guy will go dribble, and then nobody go with him. And then he gets stuck in a corner somewhere. It's like, okay, well, where's everybody? Like, you took the ball away from us.
Yeah. Help's here. Come to us. Me and you come to us. Yeah. But I think after, probably around the third week, you'll see some change in. There's some impressive teams with players on a piece of paper. Some of them really produced this weekend, the first weekend. But we have to wait and see because, again, a lot of football is going to be played in a short space of time to get through the season. And let's honestly hope that we don't have another stoppage of sport due to a social outbreak. Nothing to do with sport, but a social outbreak. That kind of curtail not just football, but all sports.
Well, good thing. One of the questions we did ask last week, and hopefully we get the answer, was when netball will be able to start. And then also not only hearing the new start of the league, but also good news for 2023 for the region.
Yeah, they're actually hoping to get started this weekend.
Yes.
They are just waiting for some technical things to be sorted out. And if not this weekend, definitely next weekend. So let's hope everything falls into place and that we would actually see netball starting. We know hockey starting. Everybody's pretty much getting underway. Getting their season underway.
Motocross starting on the 11th.
Yeah, the 11th. Yeah. Is it 11th?
Yeah, yep. I done the commercial for it. I know.
All right. Okay. The 11th, which is the Thursday, the holiday.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's
obviously
usually always a big race day for them anyway.
Right.
Understand. So,
Yeah.
and I think they're honoring. I don't know. This one would be named after Bert Ingram, who we lost.
Okay.
We lost not too long ago. So this obviously will be a special one. But to know that much, I saw the numbers of riders. I said, man, you got some riders out this year. So hopefully that will go off great because now we'll have all the we have karting and motocross. Right, so they're back up. Hockey will be starting back up. The only thing that we haven't heard about, and it'd be interesting, is harness racing.
November 21st.
Okay.
That's their hopeful start date.
Okay. So everybody's pretty much back on track then within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, no more free weekends for you, buddy.
Actually, it's funny because I often get this question whenever there's a quote-unquote major event, and if it's the only thing on, you have a busy day. It's only one event. My days are busy when you have a handful of events going on. So when somebody says, oh, I'm so busy because I've only got this one thing to do, I can't concentrate to do anything else, man, that's hogwash. Okay? Every sport deserves its time and its place on the day it's played. There's nonsense about a filler down the road. You watch. Remember, there was a time when there was no other sports going on and karting was going on. Monday morning, big spread. They'd be lucky now if they get in Friday because they were just a filler. And then sports that you've named off already today, you've named off harness, motocross, netball. You would read those in other places on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If, because they're fillers for other people and they're not important.
It's unfortunate because we have young people in each one of those sports.
That's right.
And they need to be given. Once again, you just never know where that opportunity is going to take them. That's what sports does. Not only on the local level, but can take them and also get them a career. Look where Conor is now.
Mm-hmm. Remember, a lot of people didn't even want to acknowledge the fact that he was playing MLS because it was in the States.
Well,
and you can recall back then, David Baxter playing indoors. Yeah. At that time, it was considered, that's not football, that's not football, that's not football. Anything in the States, that's not football.
You called it gypsy football at the time?
Yeah. If they weren't in England, they weren't considered football. But people have made a career out of it, made a life out of it. So, hey, it is what it is. Yeah.
I can't wait to see it in the next press conference, buddy.
I'm banned. I'm giving myself a life ban. I can't get no answer, so I might as well talk to the wall behind me.
We got a couple of answers.
Okay.
We knew what they were. Finally, they just told us. Been docking for a long time.
Oh, well, yeah. Well,
folks, if you don't know by and I'll say it right now so you won't get in trouble. If you don't know by now, folks, there's no herd immunity. So don't wait for it. Not coming.
Not coming.
It's
good night.
There's variant changed, and there's none. So there's not going to be. And if by the time another one comes, then whatever you thought for this one that's not going to happen. So for now, it's impossible. I think that was the word that was used. It's impossible now to have herd immunity. I'm glad somebody finally said it because we were waiting for why we're still giving these numbers. Because at 70% we're supposed to be the herd immunity, but we're giving numbers, but there's what are we gonna do with the number?
That's why it's all written in pencil.
I'm glad it came out. So sure. I'm just hoping that they can reassess their commitment to sports. Because those answers didn't settle. Be interested to hear what the Minister of Sport, because after speaking with him and after many conversations we had with him, that didn't sound like what was on par with our conversations we had with him. So hopefully, I don't know, he may be just finding out the information.
Speed now, speed.
Hopefully we can have him back on and to talk about some of these new developments and because please make sense out of some of this stuff. I'm just and that's all because we always hear Earl, when we was taught as kids, if you don't know, you need to ask.
Yeah.
And we look to our teachers, we look to our leaders because they will get the professional information. So what is always very important is the transparency of the information. If you get the information, Earl-based, please give it out.
Sure.
But don't get the information and hold it to yourself. But I'm dependent on you to give me the information.
Okay. Well, you said what the information was given today. Go Post.
Well, we knew that.
That collapsed. But we just needed to hear it.
But once again, nobody, like I said, that whole thing was went from herd immunity. What was it? They changed that because it was offending people. So
listen, I remember the number 70. What, 60? And now what was the new variant? It's now a different target. Okay, cool. All right.
Is it a target? Because do they know a number anymore? No.
So you're writing everything down in pencil to keep erasing it. Yeah.
I don't know. It's policy.
Sleep on that, brother. Sleep on that. I'm not gonna sleep, but you sleep on that. How's that?
Policy issues. Hey, have a good weekend, buddy.
All right, you too. All right, go.